Welcome to the XFO Intelligence Podcast. So, today we're going to delve into our comprehensive research on the global geopolitical landscape. We'll be presenting our outlook for 2025 through 2027. The key takeaway is really this: the world is undergoing a profound structural transformation. You see, the era of post-Cold War globalization, which was long defined by its pursuit of efficiency, well, that's yielding to a multipolar order. And in this new order, resilience is the new strategic imperative. This isn't just a temporary fluctuation. I want to be clear. It's a fundamental reset of the international system. We are witnessing an accelerating fragmentation into distinct regional power blocs. This is a trend that's being supercharged by intensifying resource competition and persistent elevated policy uncertainty. By 2026, we project this landscape will probably stabilize. It will be around three dominant economic spheres, each one optimizing for different priorities. First, you have North America. That's a bloc focused on innovation and defense. Second is Europe. Think of it as a platform built on regulatory stability. And third, Asia. That's a network engineered for massive production scale. Now, this configuration is not an accident of policy. It's a necessary outcome of deep constraints on resources, technology, and, most critically, on trust. And while global interdependence won't just vanish, of course, it will become far more selective and much more heavily hedged. So let's examine the powerful currents that are driving this shift. The first thing is the erosion of trust in global institutions. This is coupled with a rise in protectionism and resource nationalism. You know, trade was once a force for global integration, but now it's reorienting toward regional self-containment. This creates new fault lines around energy security, critical minerals, and digital infrastructure. And it raises risk across global markets. Okay, now let's zoom in on the key regional dynamics. In Northeast Asia, a very fragile equilibrium exists. It's within the quadrilateral of China, Japan, Taiwan, and the United States. The core tension, of course, is the US-China rivalry. Beijing's regional assertiveness is being met by Washington's firm stance on trade and security. This is prompting allies like Japan to bolster defenses and deepen their integration with the US. At the heart of this complex dance, you have Taiwan. Its unrivaled dominance in advanced semiconductors makes it a technological fulcrum for the entire world. But this concentration also creates a systemic vulnerability of just staggering proportions. It really amplifies the stakes of any contingency. Further south, the South China Sea acts as a sort of microcosm of these US-China frictions. Here, strategic maritime access and resource rights intersect with the world's most vital trade corridors. So, while tactical calm may prevail at times, the warning is that the underlying structural competition ensures a continued military presence and a persistent risk of disruption to global supply chains. And, of course, the Middle East. The region's centrality stems from its dominance in hydrocarbons. This is a factor that's now amplified by rising global energy risk and maritime choke points. Seriously, any disruption here is a shockwave to the global economy. In response, regional powers are recalibrating their alliances. They're deepening ties with an energy-hungry Asia while carefully hedging their engagements with the West. The region really remains a primary anchor of global macro volatility. If we strip away all the complexity, we find that geopolitics today, as it always has, it revolves around three foundational currencies. Those are resource scarcity, energy access, and trust. The unbundling of globalization is a direct response to a change in these fundamentals. Forcefully, supply chains are no longer just about efficiency, you see. They are now viewed as potential attack vectors in a world of eroded trust. So what does the world look like in 2026 and beyond? Well, our analysis points to three primary scenarios. The baseline, which we assign a 65% probability, is what we call a three-block equilibrium. This is a future of structured, stable fragmentation. Redundancy is built within each block, and connectivity between them is minimal. The main risk here is an unexpected, a sharp escalation between these blocks. A second scenario, hybrid fragmentation, holds a 25% probability. This would involve a partial decoupling. There would be exceptions made for a few critical resources. Cautionary, however, this path carries a high risk of long-term economic stagnation. Finally, we have a low probability, high impact system reset scenario. This is at 10%. Somber, this would be a major conflict that forces a violent reconfiguration of the global order. It would almost certainly trigger a global depression. The strategic implications are, well, they're clear. For nations, the imperative is to prioritize resource diversification and achieve technological sovereignty. Alliances must be stress-tested, and multipath redundancies for critical supplies must be built. For markets and investors, this landscape demands a new mindset. Portfolios have to be engineered for resilience through rigorous geopolitical scenario planning. There's a premium on assets with verifiable resilience, those with multi-sourced supply chains and secure technology positions. Authoritatively, building an 18-month buffer for high vulnerability resources is no longer just a recommendation, it is a necessity. Ultimately, success in this emerging era demands a recalibration, away from pure efficiency and toward deliberate assurance. It requires acknowledging the reality of finite resources and the high price of rebuilding trust. The most effective strategies will be adaptive. They'll turn these structural constraints into opportunities for durable positioning. Now, here's a question we'd like you to think about. As individuals, corporations, and nations are forced to choose between resilience and efficiency, where do you see the most painful trade-offs being made, and who will be best positioned to navigate them?